classic native features or characteristics because of intermarriage and other factors of acculturation. But one thing all Native American communities have in common is they have long faced the pressures of growing up in two worlds.
Quite often it's very confusing regarding who we are and what the expectations of us are, how we ought to act, coming from and dealing with two systems that have completely different values, different goals, different expectations. And in terms of our kids, I think that sometimes can be very difficult in terms of them knowing exactly who they are and what they should do.
The unique differences of Native Americans need to be considered when their health care is being evaluated and administered.
As each tribe gave over their lands to the federal government signed treaties that would provide certain services, and one of those services was health care. The first health care procedures that Indians received were from Army doctors at the Army posts, predominantly in the West and in the Northwest and in the Northeast. And that evolved later on when the Bureau of Indian Affairs was developed, which was in the Department of the Interior. And in 1955, the Indian Health Service was formed in what was then the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. And then in 1988, we became an agency under the current Department of Health and Human Services.
As part of a growing effort towards self-determination, tribes are actively involved in planning and implementing their own health services. Healthcare is administered to Indian people by a variety of providers, including their own tribal health centers and community health systems. Most service providers are, however, non-native. What is it they need to know beyond the science of medicine when it comes to responding to the needs of Indian people? The Van Buren and Cass District Health Department participated with 2 other health departments in a multiple-site project which involves surveying 3 tribal communities to try to find that out.
And it was amazing on what we found out as far as how much we didn't know about the culture that we were living in, actually. The first thing, a die-hard family planning director at a state agency was that there was no such thing as family planning in the eyes and mind and heart of, Native women. Family planning it didn't have anything to do with contraception. How you will raise your children, what you will teach them, what traditions will be, ongoing generation after generation.
We look at children as being sacred beings. We look at everybody as being sacred beings, actually. And that if a young girl has a baby, that baby is coming for a purpose. We don't know from what purpose that baby is coming. It is up to us to need to find a place. We did a survey in our area on family planning. Very few people said family planning was birth control. Family planning included all of the things that it goes to make up a family, like cooking, financial, schooling, how parenting skills, all those kinds of things, how you discipline your child. With the grandparents now being separated and the family unit is not like it used to be. We're not all in the village. People don't readily have access to their grandparents to go in and get this wisdom from, so they need to find it somewhere else. And so that's what they want in their family planning. I want my family to have a good life, to grow up, knowing what they need to know.
The fast pace of the outside world and the continuous catch-up, it seems like you're always in a hurry and always catching up. And when you're working with the Native American community and you're trying to work with them, they don't have that fast pace, and they don't like to be rushed when it comes to their health and their medical care. They like to see them first before you see their medical needs. And in order to do that, you have to visit, you have to get to know them, you have to spend time with them, and you have to know who their ancestors and who their history or who their aunts or where their families came from.
The way healthcare is moving and the direction that it's moving is that Indian people can be very out of balance and out of sync in that situation. For one thing is because of the introspection of the Indian people, there's not time for that now. It's you have 15 minutes, and get your chief complaint and out the building. For some Indian people, you may have to, they may start out with this story over here, and the way that they're taught and the way you talk, but you want to say, well, what's the problem? Get to the problem, get to the bottom line. But for him or her to get to the bottom line, he needs to start with this story over here and tell you how you got here. I think an analogy might be, if I came in and I said I have a headache. Okay. Just tell me, where is it? Is it front, back, side, is it piercing, dull? How long, when did it start, You see flashes, all of this, in making your diagnosis on what is causing this headache. Whereas the Indian person might say, well, the baby was crying all night over here, and then before that I had all this, I've been working 7 days straight in a row, and we're way behind in the bills, and all of these things to get up to this point to say, this is what the headache is. I'm really stressed out. And maybe I need some help here, over here, to how do I get the situation more manageable? Maybe you need to send me to the social worker who can help me straighten out some of this mess, or somewhere where maybe I might be able to find a daycare provider or something like that. Maybe that's what I need, rather than you might try to give me an analgesic for my headache, which is not really what I need. But in this situation, it doesn't allow for that time to come. We get chief complaint, okay? It goes on and go out the door and pay your bill.
Our people are not as verbal. Some people are, and vocal. But some of our elders are listening. We're good listeners. We go for long periods of time where we may not say anything, but we're listening. See, and then some other people may interpret it that we don't understand.
I've had someone say that to me once while I was busy figuring out what did he say to me and what does that mean. He said to me, "Do you understand English?" Well, yes, I understand English. I'm thinking, Don't bother me, I'm thinking. And most Indian people are introspective and they need that thinking time, And if you fill it up with more words, it's going to delay the time that you get the response that you want, because you're then adding more information, more things to think about. And, so that's one of the things about Indian people, is that introspection and that we're right-brained. Indian people form a picture in their brain, and so they need to see that picture, and then we can start putting in the pieces.
Beyond the communication differences, the physical and health problems that beset many Native people have a variety of causes and often require a multidisciplinary approach to treatment. The problems are often rooted in societal and historical issues around being Indian. They are cyclical in nature and are manifested in the lifestyles of individuals and families. This causes health risks 3 to 5 times higher than the general population.
It's all the commercial foods, the different ways that they eat now, whereas back when our forefathers, they didn't have diabetes and all these different diseases. They knew